resource group. My name is James Snyder. I am an account executive for Affiliated, focusing on the Microsoft Dynamics CRM, and I'm here with my teammate, Stephen Jennings, who is one of our CRM leads. Today we're going to be focusing on 15 tips within the CRM and Outlook. I know some of you we probably had the opportunity to at least speak with and perhaps even work with you on a project, but for those who aren't familiar with Affiliated, we are a certified Microsoft partner. We have a great team here dedicated to training, tailoring, and implementation of CRM, and all are certified by Microsoft, and we are a gold partner. So again, today we are going to focus on Outlook and CRM. The reason why is working with several different projects on CRM and different companies. We realize that really no matter the industry or even the position, people spend a lot of time in their Outlook, perhaps more than any other application they have on their computer. So we felt it'd be important to kind of understand how Microsoft Dynamics can complement that tool to just make, at the end of the day, your day a little more easy, efficient, communication, better visibility between the two products. So today's focus will be between Outlook and Dynamics, and we encourage you, if you have any questions over any of the topics we are going over, please use the question box, and we are happy to answer any questions as we go through this demonstration. So from this point on, we will go ahead and start the demo, and I'm going to hand it off here to Stephen Jennings.
All right, thank you so much, James. Okay, so today we're going to focus on 15 tips that you guys may or may not be using using the Outlook tool, and some of it is going to be more explaining, why these areas are going to be important. So this is kind of areas we're going to focus on: the configurations, some synchronization, so how we can kind of tweak the synchronization, some navigation, and really kind of explain how to use the tracking functionality, because a lot of people may understand how to track it, but there's a little bit more to that that I kind of want to go in depth about, and we can kind of go through it. And if you guys have questions, again, post the question box. James will be monitoring that, and then at the end we'll have a little thank you, and you guys can email us for any future questions. All right, so that's it on the demo. So the first thing I want to do is talk about how we can do some of the configurations. So within the Outlook client, you guys have it installed. I'm going to be doing this from a Windows 7 machine using Office 2010, but this should work on any version you guys have. I'm going to go to the Start window. I'm going to go to All Programs. And within there, I'm going to see Microsoft Dynamics CRM 2013. If you have 11 or 4, a lot of these will be very similar, so they work on a lot of other versions. So this is going to be the same area. So we'll go to the Dynamics CRM 2013. And then over here we have the configuration wizard as well as the diagnostics. So I'm going to go to the configuration wizard. Now within here I can see I have my configuration wizard. Over here you can see there's a synchronization organization. You actually have the ability to set up more than one organization. So that's going to be really nice. So especially with the cloud and Microsoft offering the sandbox, you can set up your production as well as your sandbox. Now, you can only have one of them to be your primary synchronization. So if you do set up your sandbox, your primary production org will be the one that synchronizes. And when I say synchronize, this is your contacts, your Outlook, emails, your tasks, your appointments, your basic activities. But a lot of times people will have a org name that they may want changed. Like my org name right here is 01 Demo. Sometimes you want to change that, so I can go to Edit. Right here it's going to give you the option to change the display name. Because 01 Demo, it's more like, what is it, how do I change it? I can actually change the friendly name to be CRM. So just because I have 01 Demo doesn't mean I have to stick with CRM, or I can put it, the test or sandbox or a different name. We can just say OK, and you can actually change the friendly name. So that's one of the first tips, is how to change the friendly name. So at this point I'm done, so I can close it. So now the next thing I want to show is how to do the diagnostics. Because a lot of time people may or may not quite understand the diagnostics piece, or that there is. Sometimes you may get an error in the Outlook client. You're trying to understand what it is, how do I work on it. So again, Start, All Programs, the Dynamics CRM 2013, and then what I want to go to is the diagnostics. I'm going to click on diagnostics. And over here I've got a nice array of information. I can check the box that turns on the Outlook synchronization. I can have it background send emails, background track emails, automatic email tagging, offline updates. So these give me some options of synchronization troubleshooting if I want to check or uncheck. If I uncheck, it disables this information. So if sometimes you're like, well, I'm having issues on tracking or verifying something, you'll want to check the diagnostics on the machine to make sure it's correct. Over here in the advanced troubleshooting section, we can turn on tracing. So a lot of times Microsoft provides a really nice message, but it may not be helpful. So you can turn on trace, and it will go to a trace file that you can go to. Now the trace file would be located, we go to our start, and we do pound app data, do our %. This will take us to our users app data, and then if we go into local, Microsoft MSCRM, you'll see there's traces. So anytime you turn on the trace file, the logs will go there. Now you need to make sure to uncheck the box when you're done, because this could fill up your machine. It also makes your Outlook run slower. But if you're trying to figure out maybe an error message, or you're trying to figure out an issue, why something's not working, you can check the box, do some testing, uncheck, and then you'll have a nice big information in the trace logs right here. I usually try to keep mine clear if we can. So again, your username, app data, local, Microsoft, MSCRM. This is where the trace files would be located. Okay. As you install the Outlook client, sometimes it puts temporary files. You can also delete those. It's a great way of doing some cleanup. If at any point your add-on ever gets disabled, maybe your Outlook crashes and you need to re-enable the add-on, you can go through here and just hit the box that says enable. It will turn it on for you automatically, and now it's been enabled. So again, tip number 2, kind of how to use the diagnostics. So this is a way of using the diagnostics per machine. It's not a global settings, but it's kind of per machine. So I'm going to hit save. So now that I've gone through some basics of friendly names and diagnostics, I'm going to open up Outlook, get this to launch, and then we'll show you how to do the personal options. Now, with tip 1 and 2, it's best to have Outlook closed. Forgot to mention that in the beginning. Make sure it's closed in the beginning as you're doing the configurations. All right. Now, if we look down here, my friendly name is CRM. My org name was O1 Demo, but I changed my friendly name to CRM so we can see that it is working. So now the next tip we want to talk about is personal options, how we can kind of play with some personal options. That is under File, CRM, and Options. Then it's going to ask me for my password, because this is, again, it's a demo site. Okay, so now I've got my personal options within Outlook. This is going to be very important for you guys because we can focus on forms. So a lot of times when you're in Outlook, you can see your Outlook appointments, your Outlook contacts, your Outlook tasks, your Outlook emails. If these are checked, it will actually bring up the form from CRM instead. So if I go to my Outlook and I want to see my contacts, I can see my CRM contacts, not my Outlook contact screen. So you can change how this looks. Let's see what else we can do for Outlook. Over here we've got some synchronization. We'll dive into that in a second. We have our email. These are our email settings right here. You can allow to send and check incoming automatic. We also have our tracking ability. Let's talk about the tracking ability real quick, the personal options. We have a few options in here. We can track all emails. We can track emails in response to CRM emails. We can track emails from CRM leads, contacts, or accounts, or messages that are email enabled. Now, Our best practice, and the thing I will always recommend if you've ever talked to me, is email messages in response to CRM email. The reason why is because everybody knows their data better than I do. You want clean information into your system. You want to pick and choose. If you pick all email, it can do every single email. So personal emails, emails that maybe somebody sent you a joke on that you want in your system, it can actually fill it up. So you have to be very careful when you come to a cloud environment because it can eat up your space, considering cloud environments start at 5 gigs. If you're on premise, it can be different. If you pick leads, contacts, and accounts, that's fine. It will find it, link it to those leads, contacts, and accounts. The downside of this one is it will not allow you to do the set regarding automatically. So normally when I say you have an email open, you set regarding, I click it to an opportunity, I click it to a case. With this one, it will track it behind the scenes, and you may forget to go back and link it to that opportunity or to a case because a lot of times if it's doing for you automatic, you're going to forget about it. And then the last one are email enabled, because sometimes you may have a custom entity that you can make it email enabled. You can actually have it search those as well. So again, what I recommend, email messages in response. So you start it, you track it, your conversations will automatically be tracked. Okay, so this is kind of some areas about personal options. So the next tip I want to talk about is synchronization. There's two types of synchronizations. There is a personal settings that we can do, and then there is a system settings we can do. Under the personal settings, we can define our filters. I'm going to click on filters right here. This will give me the options of what I want to sync. Phone calls, tasks, faxes, service activities, appointments, reoccurring appointments, letters, Outlook contacts. I've actually turned this one off. A lot of times people will say, I don't want to synchronize my Outlook contacts. That's fine. You can have the ability to turn it off per person, because a lot of times if you have thousands and thousands of contacts in CRM that are assigned to you, as soon as you turn on the tracking, it'll actually start pushing them into your Outlook, which then goes to your phone if you have the Exchange turned on, and can cause some issues. So some people don't like it. But what we can also do is we can change the filters. So people sometimes say, well, I want to see mine as well as my boss's, or some people I want to see mine plus the team. You can actually change the filter. To change the filter, I would click on My Outlook Contact. We'll open up the filter for us. And this will say owner equals current user and status equals active. So some people will say, I only want to track emails that are, I specifically say to track. So if you go into your Outlook and you track up, that's fine, but sometimes you may put a contact in CRM that you may not want or would like tracked back and forth. You can change the criteria in here. So I can say, you know, maybe anything that owner equals current user, but I can change this to say equals. I can say the lookup value. So I'm going to look for anything that's from Chris and James, because he's on the phone with me, and then myself. So what this will say is I want any contact to be pushed to my machine that Chris is the owner, James is the owner, or I am the owner. So I can push those down. And I can say add. And then I can say save. And I can close it out. So now my Outlook contact sync has been customized to look at myself, James, and Chris. So anytime they add a contact associated with them, it can actually be downloaded to my own machine. Now, I may not be able to edit it because the synchronization is because depending on your security. So if the security says James is the owner, I can download it, but I can't update it. But at least I'll have the information so as James is updating it, it's being synchronized to my Outlook. Okay, and you can turn these on or off all day long, so you can select My Phone Calls and hit the stop button. It says deactivate. and it turns it off. So you can see now phone calls is there. I can select it again and say start. I can now turn it back on. So you can turn them on, you can turn them off, all this information back and forth. I'm going to say OK. So that's how I can adjust my personal information. Over here we've got during synchronization, the parent accounts can be updated. So what does this mean? So this means if I have a contact and I link it to a parent record, at any point I can go through and it will update the company. So if I've got ABC Inc., but in my CRM system it's spelled out ABC Incorporated, my contact company would get updated to match what CRM is, so everything keeps in sync. Very, very nice check. Over here we have the checkbox that says synchronize the CRM items every 15 minutes. Now the minimum is 15 because my company settings, the CRM settings, is 15 minutes, but maybe I want to extend it to 60 minutes because I don't want it to synchronize so much, so I can change it to 60. So per person can delay it longer, but they cannot make it faster than 15 minutes because that's set at the organization. So we don't want our users to do it every minute because that can actually affect the exchange system because there's a lot of synchronization back and forth. But I can extend it to be every 60. I'm going to leave it at 15 for now. So this is how we do our personal synchronization, so that's a good tip. The next thing I want to show you guys, I'm going to say OK on this information. I'm going to show you how to change the system settings because it's really nice to know how to change globally these settings. But when I say settings, it's not per person, it's kind of some global generic settings. Okay, so I'm going to go all the way down to settings, customization, or let's see, it's going to be under system, under administration. I'm kind of going into CRM at this point. Again, I'm all staying in Outlook. I'm going to go to system settings. All right, within my system settings, I can go to email. And email will give me some system settings in here for synchronization. So within the new version, we can decide to use server-side synchronization or the email router. So this would be some synchronization. So the difference between the two of those system settings would be a lot of times you're requiring a user to use the Outlook client to do the synchronization. So they have to track. So they still have to track, but it does the synchronization every 15 minutes. It works only when the Outlook is open. If we use server-side synchronization, which does take some configuration, we can say, you know what? Anytime something changes in CRM, I'm going to push it to the Exchange. So I don't really need the Outlook client to tell me about the synchronization, so I'm basically taking the middle piece out, and it's going to go from CRM to Exchange. With Exchange, it tracks the emails, tasks, the appointments, all that stuff that you would track. It does it before you behind the scenes. So it's really nice. It's kind of what we approach with the no homework aspect for salespeople. So if they're using tablets and they're out and about, things can go back and forth without having the Outlook client to do the synchronization. This is where we've set our server profile, incoming, outgoing, telling basic people use Outlook. Over here we have our tracking functionality. So when you track an email, it's going to put the CRM up top in a unique number. A lot of clients I work with don't really like that, so we can uncheck it. That's fine. It does help with the tracking, but I've had it unchecked for many years, and it really hasn't noticed much of a difference. Over here we have our smart matching. You definitely want to keep this checked because this is going to look for filtered subject words. So when I mentioned that the tracking will automatically track back and forth, this is what it's doing. This is the smart match. Out of all the years I've ever done with this, I've never messed with this. You can mess with it, but I've never messed with it. So just be super careful about touching this. Okay. So that's all in here. Okay. So that talks about email. The next thing is the Outlook that we talked about. This is how we can set our server Outlook settings. We can say promote incoming email every 10 minutes, send pending emails every 10 minutes, perform checks as new email receives, yes. Users can schedule synchronization, yes. So you can actually turn that off. If you don't want your users to play with the synchronization settings, you can turn that off at a global session. Whether they can update their local data, yes or no. Users can schedule the address book synchronization. Now this one's cool. This will be a tip I'll show you later on how to grab contacts. So we want to say, we'll leave that as yes, and it can synchronize once an hour. That's fine. And then the get user for Outlook bar. Sometimes when you log on to the website, they'll say, hey, download the Outlook. You can turn that on or off. This is where you would do it. But as you notice, you really can't play with the filters. Those filters are a predefined filter per user. So there's really no way to change them through this settings. There are some third-party tools I've been using that allows me to change the filters per user at an administrator level. And if you're curious about those tools, just send me an email later and I'll be able to help you out. Okay? So that's kind of about how to manage system syncs. Now the next thing is how to view CRM contacts in your address book. So a lot of times when you have an email and you want to send an email and you're like, I don't have that person with my contact, but it's in CRM. You have to open up CRM, you have to copy the email, you have to paste it in your Outlook, your email, and you can do a couple things. But in your two, when you search in your global address, you can actually pick the contact from CRM. So what I'm going to do is the first thing we have to do is we have to set it up to be utilized. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to it's in our personal options. So I'm going to say OK. Go back to my inbox. I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go to CRM. I'm going to go to Options. And then I'm going to go into Address Book. And then I want to make sure this box, by default, it's this box. I want this one checked. Match all contacts in CRM. So this will grab all contacts and allow me to see a list that I can grab with. And I'll show you that in a second. So then I'm going to say OK. Then we're going to say New Email. I'm going to click 2. Now this is my contacts in my personal Outlook. That may be my global systems environment, but I can change that because, again, you can have multiple address books. Do the drop down, and I'm going to go all the way down to contacts. This will show all contacts in my CRM system. So then you can do a search, or you can just kind of say, you know what, I'm going to take Bob, I'm going to say 2, OK, and now I've pulled Bob Smith from my CRM system, and I'm going to send him an email, and all that information would go through. So again, I can pull emails directly from contacts in CRM without actually opening up CRM at all. Okay. So another thing is sometimes you want to set CRM as your default Outlook folder. This has been a question I've had people ask me before. Is, every time I open up Outlook, I want to go directly into CRM. I don't want to go into Mail first. You can do that. It's just an Outlook function, so it's really under File, Options at this point. And then if we go into Mail, of course, this version is eluding me at the moment, so I apologize. but it's all within here. We can basically select which folder it goes into. I'll find it and send you guys a note later. I apologize on that one. All right. So then we're going to dive into how to navigate within more of the system. So we're going to go into CRM. We'll go to sales. I'm going to go to customers. And I'm going to look at contacts. So the first thing we have in here is a complete list of all of our active contacts. Right now I've got my tabs that say active contacts. Sometimes you guys want to filter the list a little bit more to say, I want to see, active contacts, show me all my active contacts. So this is globally for the company, active contacts. This one right here shows my active contacts. Through the Outlook client, you can have multiple tabs. Through the web version, you can have one tab at a time. I can also pin these tabs. I can say pin. As the pin goes downward, this tells me this tab will stay. Every time I close Outlook, I reopen Outlook, every time those tabs will stay there. It's a great way of organizing some information. You can also pin personal views. So if you have a personal view that you've created, you can pin and set your default view as that one as well. If you need to move these left and right, really the trick on this one is you just have to hit the X. It gets shifted over. You would grab active contacts, and then you would pin that. So you just have to kind of close the one out so it kind of shifts. There's really no moving left or right. Okay. So the next thing I want to show you is how to use the filters. So a lot of times to do filters, you can go to Advanced Find, you can play with some stuff, but with an Outlook, you don't really have to do that. So on the far right side, there is a filter drop-down. So I'm going to say filter. I'm going to add a filter by, business phone. It's going to pop up in a window. And I'm going to say contains data. I want to show all contacts that actually has a business phone because I'm going to make phone calls today. That's going to be my job. Say OK. Now what it does is it filters it. Now remember, I had over 5,000 contacts. Now what I have is I have a list of all contacts, which is 18 that has a phone number. So then I can go through and I can work with this, I can do this. But then I can see my filter right here. So there's a drop down right here to the right of filter that shows this information that says status equals active. Business phone contains data. So I now have my filter. I can play with this filter. It doesn't really save it at this point, but it allows me to play with my filter. If I want to save this filter, I can click on the View tab up top and do a Save As. And then I can give it a name. So this one would have business phone numbers. Let's save. So now I have a personal view that just got created. Right here, active contacts, business phone. Same criteria that I just did over there. It created a personal view for me. Normally you'd have to open up Advanced Find, change your filters, but again, we can all do it within Outlook. And then if I look down here, there's my personal view I just created. Now it's saved. I can grab it anytime I want. Okay? So that's pretty good on filter and list, and it works on accounts, contacts, leads, anything that you have in the system, custom entities, all works fine. So now the next thing I want to show is color list items. So I'm going to go back to my active contacts. So a lot of times people are like, this is great, but I want to color code my information based off of some criteria. So I'm going to color code it based off of the phone number. So anytime there's a phone number, you know what? I'm going to make it red. That's pretty cool. So to do that, I'm going to go again to my view settings. I'm going to go down to conditional formatting. Okay. And I'm going to add a new one. We'll call this CRM contacts. Okay. So So then I'm going to change my font. First I'm going to make the color red, because I'm going to make it stick out. Then I'm going to make it big. You can change the font, size, whatever you'd like. I'm going to say OK. So now I have it 16-point red, big, large, in your face. Then I'm going to say condition. We'll go to more choices. We'll go to advanced. We'll click on field. We'll go to forms. We'll go to user-defined field, business phone number is not empty. So again, I'm keeping it simple. I want all phone numbers that have something in it I'm going to make red. Say OK. Are you sure? Yes. OK. And then OK. Now, everybody who's listening and watching can probably tell me which ones have phone numbers, right? Anything that is red and large, right in your face. It tells you some information. So again, we can do conditional formatting per entity, contacts, leads, opportunities, but it's per machine. It's not a global setting that we can do. This is just something that somebody can do per machine, and then we can set it in here. So as I scroll through, I can look and see, look, oh, there it is. Now I can call them. This one doesn't have it. This one does. Wouldn't it be nice to know opportunities that are coming up due, or opportunities that hit a certain dollar range, or a lead that's at a certain stage? We can do that the same thing with the conditional formatting. So great ideas of options that you guys can use. Okay? So the next thing I want to show you guys is your tasks. So we have our tasks in here, very simple task. Again, these are synchronized tasks. I can see my task right here. It's being synchronized because I have my 2 people. Also tells me it's being tracked in CRM. But a lot of times I'm going to go to my calendar event, and I want to see my tasks down here. So when you're looking at your calendar view, you can see tasks at a day, they're down here. At a work week, they're down here. At a week, but not at a month. When you're looking at the month view, you're not going to see tasks down there, so I'm going to go back to my week. So anytime a task has been assigned to you, you're going to want to keep track of that information. You can see the tasks down here that are assigned to you. They're not on your calendar, but they're going to be down here. This is a great way of seeing tasks that are assigned to you, or tasks that you need to be done that are synchronized back and forth between Outlook and CRM at my calendar, because most people are always looking at their calendars seeing, what do I have to do, what's going on. You can do all that. Okay? The last couple of things I want to talk about as far as tips is tracking. So some things that you may know is I want to create an email, but I want to pull a template from CRM. Maybe you have some generic email you're wanting to send. You're only going to send a few, so you don't really have to do a big marketing blast, but it's a consistent message that you want to send. So we can say new message, and I'll say track, set regarding to a contact. So to a contact, I'm going to pick Mike Moran, so we'll do Mike Moran. Say add. So now it's regarding Mike Moran, and then we can put Mike's info in here. Remember, we'll say to. I'll go to my contacts. I'll grab Mike again. We'll say OK. So again, I can say insert a template right up here. So as soon as I say track, I've got a few functions in here. I can insert an email template. I can insert an article or a sales literature. So if you're a salesperson and you want to be consistent about your message, you can insert a template. You can go to email templates that are available. These are some global ones. I can say email marketing event notification. We can say select. and it will bring in my information for you. It says, Dear Mike Moran, we're excited this information, so it says Dear first name, last name, or Dear full name. It will do a replace of that information for you, so I can bring in templates, have consistency as I send my emails out personally. If you're doing customer service and you have an article, so if somebody sends you an email and says, you know what, I have a question about something, and you're like, you know what, we created a knowledge base article about that. So instead of cutting and pasting, you can actually go into the articles, grab some articles, and you can do a search, you can attach that article, and then the customer will get that knowledge base article, which is like an FAQ, how to set up something, how to install something, basic information that you would repeat over and over again. You can also attach sales literature. So if you have specific marketing materials that you want to do or sales literature you want to do, all the data can be stored in CRM, and you can grab that and send that to somebody. So I can, so you can do that. This would be as an attachment, and we can send that. So this is when you're sending a message in the beginning. Okay, so we're going to close that out.
We have a question, Stephen.
Okay. Okay, so the question was, how do you store the articles or sales in CRM? Good question. I'm going to show you that real quick. All right, to do knowledge-based articles, it's going to be under the service section, which would be under collateral. So if I go under service and then collateral, and then I'm going to go to articles. This is where your knowledge-based article would be stored. So I can build articles in here, so I can say new. At this point, I can create a procedure, step by step, how would I do something. So like last night I was working on building some furniture, so I had a step by step that helped me. A question and answer, so if somebody's asking you the question over and again. Solutions, standard KB articles, so you can say a question or answer, basically builds you a template. You can fill out question, answer, search, save and close. This also has an approval process so that you only grab approved ones. So this is a great way of grabbing articles. So these would be your articles that you would be knowledge-based articles. To do your sales literature, that would be under sales, under collateral. So again, I'm in sales or marketing, so under sales, or again under collateral. We have sales literature. And really what this is, you're really just saying, I want to add an attachment. So again, it's not. So it brings up my demo, my sales literature, give it a title, give it a subject. I save this, and then I would then attach a file to this. So I would do an attachment right here. So I just give it a title of, we'll just say test, give it a query, we'll hit save, got to save it first. Then I can go over here and I can attach a file, PDF, PowerPoint presentation, whatever you'd want. And then when you grab this, it would be pushed in there. So those are the two types that you can do from an articles and sales literature. And then your templates would be under settings, templates. These would be your email templates that we can use. Okay. So then let's talk about tracking messages that are coming into you. So things that you guys may do. So I can open up a message here. I can say the track message. It can then be tracked. By doing the track message, what it does is it will search the entire system and say, you know what, I've got my Bing rewards. It actually will find that contact for you and link it automatically. All you have to do is press track and it links it for you. Very, very easy. That's really what the track does. Now the set regarding button right here, I can say set regarding. It allows me to link to something. Now, when you're in the window here and I hit set regarding, you see how it opened up a lookup record? If I actually open up the email and I do set regarding, it's going to give me some different options. These options will give you some recent your top 10 most recent information that I want to. This will be in here. So I can see, look, I can link to Mike, I can do alpine skis, or I can do a lookup. I'm going to pick alpine skis because I've recently done some activities. And I can see my regarding is in there. I can select it. It will actually open up the record for me automatically. I can click on the Bing Rewards. It'll open it up for me. But sometimes you may get an email that turns red. Now, a lot of times red means, whoa, there's problem, there's danger. All it means is CRM searched your entire contact database and said, you know what, I don't have an email for this. Steven.jennings.work@outlook.com. It doesn't exist. It's not in there. So you know what? I can add it. All you have to do is hit the red icon, and I can create it as a contact, or I can create it as a lead. I can pick whatever I want, because sometimes maybe somebody sends you an email, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to create it as a lead. I'm going to do some prospecting against that person, or I'm going to create them as a contact because I want to work with them. All you have to do is check the box, and it will automatically open up the record, have the contact in there, and do everything in its power to find information. Like full name was my email address, and my email was there. But if it had first name, last name, it would push that information in there for you. Create a contact. I can close it out, and I can see now that it's blue. So we know blue means it's in the system, red means it's not. So that requires you to pick and choose. Now, there is an option in CRM. I'm going to show you. Close this one out. Go to File, go to CRM, and go to Options. There are options within your tracking. Go to Email. I can automatically create that record in CRM for me. So anytime I hit Track, I want that contact to be automatically pushed into my system without me taking that extra step. So I can check this box and say, is it a contact or a lead? I can say it's a lead, or I can say it's a contact. So anytime I hit Track and it does not exist, it can create it for me automatically. Now, good and bad on that. The good news is it does it for me great. James, he's getting a lot of emails. He's going to check that box because, you know, he's actively following up with those people. Now, myself, I may not do that because, again, as I get emailed quite a bit, I'm tracking it. There may be people on there I don't want in my system, you know, like the Bing Rewards. It's not really any person I'd want to work with because it's the reward system. So I can pick and choose. Now, if you track something that has like 50 carbon copies, guess what? All 50 would get created as contacts, and you'd have to go through and clean it up. So I like to uncheck this, but the option's there for both of you, whatever you'd like to do. So I like to keep it unchecked, but again, totally optional, whatever you'd like to do. All right, so now the last thing I want to talk about is there's a convert to piece. So I've got a message here. I've got this email in here. I want to convert this email into something. So what if somebody, you know, from a sales point of view, I know James would love this, somebody sends an email and says, you know what, James, I'd like you to send me a proposal right now. I'm ready to do CRM. We'd love that. You guys send us an email. James would hit the track button. I now have my new windows open here. He would go to convert to. I can convert this email into an opportunity. Normally, James would have to say, great, he's got his email open on one screen. He goes into CRM, goes to opportunities. He says new. He fills out some information. That works, but that took James probably like 5 minutes to do this. Well, you can save some time by having your email open and saying convert to. So I can say convert to. I click on opportunity. Gives me a new window. Finds the customer based off of my contact information. I want to open. I want to close. If this came from a campaign, you can link it to the campaign directly. And I'm going to say convert. Not only will it close the email because it's done, it will actually open up the opportunity for me to continue working with this opportunity. So again, I have not left Outlook. I'm still in my email. I get this email. I've got my topic, which is the subject, and then I could start working on this opportunity because of the body of the message. I can also see under activities the email message, and I can expand it here. I can see all the entire emails, their attachments, whatever there was. I can see everything that's in here, and I can process this. So I can work with this opportunity. I can fill it out. I haven't left CRM. I haven't done any of that. I kind of just opened it. It's a great way of converting. You can also convert to a lead. or a case. So if you're having an issue with a customer that says, you know what, I have a problem, I can convert that email to a case. So if you're customer service, you can take care of that without really having to leave Outlook. All right. So at this point, I think our time is going to be done. We've covered basic Outlook configuration settings, some synchronization settings, some navigation settings, and some tracking information. So again, 15 tips, pretty quick. If you guys have questions, feel free to reach out to us. I'm going to bring up, hold on, real quick. And again, this kind of ends the presentation. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks everyone. And this, again, one thing we would really like your assistance with is we kind of base this demo off a lot of feedback we're getting. So we really appreciate if you have any ideas. These demos are for you, these webinars. So if you have any ideas of things that you think might help and improve your experience with Dynamics, please feel free to call me. We would love to hear more about your insights and your experience to see if we can, help others with that as well. So again, thank you very much, and hope you'll be joining us next month. Thank you.